Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well. Welcome to the Wednesday evening prayer gathering. So, why don't we take a moment and kind of collect ourselves from getting here? It's daylight, I think, standard time in California in the United States now. So, the hours are adjusted by 1 hour going forward into the spring. So thank you for making the adjustment in your schedules. So let's take a moment and I will line up. We'll all sort of collect ourselves and then we'll begin. Okay. See you in a bit. Okay. So I've been contemplating a little bit about healing. I wasn't quite finding the right words. So I'm trusting, like in the good old days, that it will come up on the spot. Healing is, it's not in the sense that we view ourselves as damaged or not whole or imperfect. I don't want us to have a negative mindset of ourselves. That's not helpful. So the need to heal is not exactly the concept I kind of want to bring forward. It's more of a return. When we do religious practice or improve ourselves, there's a certain longing we have, desire to connect, better ourselves, heal ourselves. Yes, so I can't get around the term very much, and we will be using the Rafa mantra, God heal me, but that's not how I want us to kind of perceive this. It's more of a returning to wholeness, because I want us to get back a return to better than what we were when we were born, better than what our ancestors were, better than what our bodies and minds and nervous system, better than where humanity currently is at. And it's not a healing, it's more of a return. That it's a time, that it's the time to become whole. Whole in the sense of the wholeness in which God created us and we are a bit removed from. That's where the greatest growth is at. Wholeness carries all the wisdom. Wholeness has all the alignment. Wholeness has all the knowledge. Wholeness carries all the health. Wholeness carries and is part of eternal life. Wholeness has balance in our body, the chakras, the sephirots. Wholeness is in the flow of the central channel of the central column. Wholeness has the union of heaven and earth, of divinity and man, in balance, in proper balance, in a communion. That's wholeness. Yes. The Star of David has an upward pyramid and a downward pyramid. It symbolizes many things, one of which is wholeness. The God in the heavens, us on earth, in the meeting. The exchange, the union of duality, man, woman, heaven, earth. A sort of reunification, a connection, the balancing of the sephirots. That's wholeness, that's healing. When we do any of the practices I teach, and almost anything religious, Even reading sacred scripture is to come with understanding, to connect, to refine that wholeness, to find guidance on our lives so our actions are in balance, where we live a proper life. And so it's really a return to balance, a return to wholeness, contemplating what this winter emphasis will be. And I still have many thoughts. But I'm beginning to settle on a return to wholeness and balance. Because that's very much where my life is at. And I think it's where a lot of people currently are at. There's a great need in this planet for wholeness. And we're going to focus on ourselves, our wholeness, our healing, for lack of a better word, our reconnection, focusing on our minds, souls, bodies, our energies. And so tonight, we've done a lot of work over the last couple months on using Rafa, Adonai Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Abba Rafa, the desire connecting with the aspects of the divine that heals us. God that heals, connecting with that healing energy. But it's really a return to wholeness. When we get disease, our body is out of balance. There's something that goes wrong. It's the removal of a wholeness, an out of balance, something in equilibrium that functions. Prayer, working with our bodies, raising our energy, repairing what's out of balance, returns us to a wholeness, an equilibrium, a balance. It replenishes what is gone. It brings back what has left. And from that place, we can go forward into the world, into our lives, into our families, whole. And so we'll work with the mantra of using the word Rafa, but I don't want it to have sort of the intent we had it over the period of Elul and the high holy days, where we really pushed it, for lack of a better word, to healing, repair in a certain intensity. It was, they had a fervor to it, which is very appropriate for that season. The sense of urgency, because there was a finite period of time before Yom Kippur. It was a lead up. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. There were a certain number of days. And so it was an intensive. But the return to wholeness is a lifelong practice. And it's gentle. But it doesn't mean it takes a lifetime. I just want to double back on that. We can go very, very far in not a long period of time. But it's a sort of reorientation, a recalibration, a change of focus, a change of emphasis where we pull back from the speed of summer. The beaches, the vacations, the parties in the park, all that excitement, which from having beautiful weather we do, especially in colder parts of the world. It really shuts down during winter. I lived in the East Coast for many years, and let me tell you, winter comes, a lot of things of life really cease, sort of stop. And people stay in their apartments. You want to go out to a club or to dinner, the heavy coat with sweaters, and you go outside and the windshield hits your face. It's a thing. You're not wandering down the park. You are scurrying into the subway or into your car. It's not, it's a time where you go inward because the outward is not as available. There's less distraction, which makes it a very powerful time to practice. Hence why I do these sort of more meditative practices where I teach more meditative skills. And this year, it'll be meditating with the body, working with one's body on how to relax, and with the chakras and alignment. Because as I've been sort of leading on over the last couple months and giving teaching here, and here, I think people have now come to an understanding that it's essential and hopefully that it's real. But we'll get into that in the next couple of weeks. But it's now that things are quieter, because now outside, there's no kids. There's no college students laughing. It's very still. It's cold. At least, what Californians call cold, which is really not that cold. But for here, it is cold. And so it's a time for that turning inwards to wholeness. And it doesn't have that feverish pitch of a timeline because we have months. A retooling, a recalibration, a healing needs a gentle container because what put us there was things that threw us off, or threw off our ancestors, or threw off our world, threw us off. Whatever it is, the causes really do not matter at all. The past, whatever. Not helpful. Well, sometimes you have to deal with it, and I've spoken enough about how to go about that. But what we're concerned with is today, going into tomorrow, and with the cultivation of energies through the recitation of divine names, we are bringing forth a divine healing energy. It heals. It's a different way of going about it. We don't need to talk it through talk therapy. It's not medication. It's not yogas. It's not multivitamins. It's not a lot of things. We're working directly with sound and vibration and the blessing of certain syllables. And as I think people who've been with me for a while, they've pretty much realized it's a real thing by now, hopefully. So we're working with that, we're bringing a source of harmony to our disharmony. We're bringing a source of blessing to rebalance, recalibrate, to bring back any missing pieces. But it's not from a sense of having a deficit, less than. I'm sick, I'm out of balance, I'm missing this, or I'm fucked up, or whatever it is. It's not coming from that sense. It's the sense of just saying whole. The desire of retaining, regaining, or attaining for the first time a sense of balance and wholeness without categorizing where you are. You're moving forward and you're using a modality, a means with which to move forward, and you're using something that hits the repair button. And you don't need to know as to why or how or exactly what is off. Because a lot of it, what we're working with here, as opposed to other modalities, is a more subtle form of repair that's very powerful. And you don't need to know what is off to do it. It's like the mantra does the work. It's intelligent. You don't need to direct it. You merely sit in a space where you recite it gently, and you feel the energy which you're able to cultivate, and you relax and rest in it. It's like having a massage, or going into the hot tub, or hot shower, or hot bath, whatever. You don't need to do anything. You lie there, you do it. You don't need to think, I need to relax this muscle, or I need to move in this direction for this to work, or that. No. You're passive. Now, we're not completely passive because we're creating the environment. We're using, if you choose to, prayer beads. You're taking the time and you're reciting it, which takes a little practice. I think people have gotten a good sense of the energy that's possible, or at least a little bit of a taste. And then you see the fruits of it. You see over the course of weeks or a month or two how things have changed. And that's how you get confidence in the practice. And you are able to see, wow, this is where I was. This is where I'm now. I didn't know I could think this way. I didn't know that my body is better. I look better. Wow, this is wow. And then you begin to have confidence, and then you continue. It is not a rush. You do it too fast, push too hard. You don't want to burn out. At the same time, that's also aggressive. What's throwing us off is aggressive. So we don't meet aggression with aggression, because often what needs to be rebalanced is actually things that need to be released. And pressure doesn't allow pressure to go. We're creating a warm, blessed environment of healing, which invites what needs to leave, because our body naturally is able to balance itself. Our body has a natural equilibrium and wholeness. We're just not aligned with that. So we don't need to make something happen. We don't need to create changes for our body to be or do or align in a way that it naturally does not align. We are not fundamentally unwhole. unhealthy, out of alignment. At our core is that inner beautiful cathedral, that ark, our alignment, the Shekhinah, and that is whole and that is perfect. We are merely releasing what keeps us from being that, which is at our base. So what we're doing a lot is like the archaeologists with their little brushes and or little tools that blow air to move things away to get what's underneath. It's a release. It's not a bulldozer. It's just inviting things to go. And that's why it's important to remember to breathe when you meditate or pray. It's important to relax. Any tension, let it go. And then sometimes I stretch a couple times during a practice, especially if it's longer. And I'm shocked that I'm able to find cracking bones where they weren't before, which is a very good thing because that means that tightness that held something out of balance was ready to readjust. And you're able to stretch deeper and further and do stretches you weren't otherwise able to do. Why? How? Because that holding, that tension, that disequilibrium that was in us has relaxed and released and let go. And therefore, a whole new way of being emerges. A whole new way of seeing emerges because with the constriction gone, the energy flows. Our brain, our third eye, our alignment, the way we perceive and think, doesn't have that energy within us that colors, like a collar. My accent's getting in the way. That adds a temperature or a flavor or a way of perceiving things that's not correct. We're able to see things clear. There's a clear seeing, a clear feeling, a clear being. Because that calibration, that release, now we're able to touch into deeper currents within ourselves, not the trauma, not any sort of imbalances or damage or whatever. But because that energy releases, a lot of what we have is based on energy. We are very energetic beings and we hold a lot. Like people say, I'm holding a lot. They might be thinking of, I don't know, emotions, the past. They feel the tense in their body. Well, all of it's really energy. Energy gives rise to thoughts. Thoughts give rise to actions. Energy gives rise on how we see something. We see it for something that's not there or an intent that was not there, but we are sort of have PTSD or it was like that in the past. So we kind of impose that view on something that's not there and we act or react accordingly. With this release of what we've accumulated, it's a brave new world. Doesn't need to be out there. We might not be able to do a whole lot out there, but we could certainly work with ourselves. And so this is, I guess, the invitation for this year. With the cold, let's turn inwards. See if you wish to make this part of what you wish to do this. I guess it's fall, winter, and early spring. To make that time when you're deciding what to do, what books to read, or whatever one does for you for doing the winter months. And so tonight, we're going to use the mantra Rafa. It's gentle. Look, I love the power ones. Let me, I'm just tell you, I go for the most powerful ones. I always have. It's just, it's me. I love it. I am able to handle it, and it's great. This one's also very powerful, but it has a certain gentleness to it. It doesn't hit you over the head. It's not sharp. It doesn't feel energy course through you. It doesn't break through, all of which are very important depending on what you need. But with this, we're just creating an environment. It's like we're putting our body in an energetic stew of blessed frequencies and names and prayer and devotion and desire to return in a way to our perfection, closer to God, because wholeness is naturally closer to God, naturally closer to a more perfected aspects of ourselves as we let go what is not. And so it's sort of entering into a bath of energy where our bodies, like in a bath, our bodies warm up and naturally our muscles relax. The tension leaves, right? The thoughts, the day, the week, the year leave us in a bath. Everything relaxes. We feel calm because our muscles become calm. Therefore, our thoughts become calm. And then we might have that aha moment that we didn't have before because we've calmed the storm. And whether we realize it or not, we all have an aspect of a storm within us, because anything that's not whole, it sort of bounces things around out of equilibrium, not in the way they should, and it creates a certain static. And the more we have, the denser it is, the more active it is. And then, like people sometimes say, I don't recognize myself anymore. Sad, but it happens to all of us because we've lost that sense of grounding to truer aspects of ourselves. And so the question is, do we wish to return? So tonight, we're just going to go gentle. There's several months ahead of us. Gentle. Gentle walks in nature, nice baths. A little cardio, a little stretching. Creating that environment where great change can occur. People think they need to do a lot to have great change. That is not the case when we're doing what I'm suggesting here. I know it's counterintuitive, but what we're creating is changes on many different levels and bringing in great blessing. And things start clicking in a different direction and it creates a momentum. It's quite amazing. One begins to realize that what we hear, the pop psychology, oh, you got to do this, and nobody really investigates. Everybody says it, so it's got to be true. There's a lot of things buzzing around that are really not accurate. And I think one will see that it's the regular investment of a little time, the small changes one makes, the clearing of how we perceive, and therefore we act, behave differently. And quickly we realize that we're in an entirely different space in our thinking, even where we are physically, because have discovered avenues, roads, health that we didn't know because we were locked in to something. We were locked into a certain paradigm. And we didn't think, or we didn't think we could, or we weren't even aware what else was possible. And it's that we turn to our core, releasing the things that no longer serve us. Some of our behaviors and ways of going about things were necessary in a moment in time, but might not no longer be necessary now. So it's really a sort of release and finding that quiet, that candle, that sacred space, the sacred words where one can pray. You say it for a while, then you sit there, you feel that union, that wholeness, and then you can pray, or things come to you. And you're like, oh, 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 oh. And then you go and you write something down. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it happens a lot. Just click, 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 click. That is very, very important. Thoughts lock in energy. Thoughts lock in behaviors. When things go click and you see and you're like, oh my gosh, how did oh, things really change. It comes from a lot of different directions, but it's finding that stillness, that calm. In our society is everything but that. It's all about the next thing, movement, not enough time, lots of aggression, lots of crazy, a lot of distractions. People are afraid to touch in within themselves, afraid what they're going to see, and just not knowing. It's an undiscovered country. It's an undiscovered. No techniques aren't really taught. Those that are a lot of pop psychology with people who are off, showing things that are cute that could bring in income, but really people do it for a little while, but they really don't teach it, and it's can hurt. It's just not in the way it's presented, or it's incomplete. So a lot of what we have is we don't know. And the emphasis in modern society with all the electronics is everything but reflection and stillness and opening and release. We're very good on adding things and replacing things. Not so good about releasing things and finding the open space. In that open space is great blessing. In that open space could be a whole new universe while you're here, and a complete rebirth, renaissance, a return to wholeness, a return to alignment and communion with God, or a deepening of it, which, just like the moving river of the Shekhinah, it moves you along. And things become much easier, much more effortless as you continue on that journey. But every journey comes with a first couple steps, the hesitation, the not uncertainty, and giving up what's not on the journey. Making that time, making that commitment, and then you have to forego, not do certain other things during that time. Or you start changing the way you are, the way you behave, the way you act. You bring in different healing modalities, what else you need to assist you, and it becomes very holistic, very complete. And then in a period of time, you might look in the mirror and you're like, wow, I don't recognize myself in a good way, because you are now the amazing person, healthier, better mindset, more in control in a way of one's life, because one is more clear and more behind the seat, and you are becoming everything that you were hoping to become, and you've healed so much. And it's not necessarily things in the world like a better job or a house or whatever, but inside you, which could also manifest in other things. But you realize, oh my God, I've changed, I'm flourishing. And from a spiritual and meditative and yogic and many things point of view, that change happens when we work on ourselves by working within ourselves and what composes. It's not so much outside. The outside assists what's going on within us. Yes? So I've given a whole teaching on Wednesday, which I've always tried to leave for Sunday. But I think this is where we're going, and I hope I hope you guys like it, because I do this for you, and I think, and I have the benefit because I really needed this winter too. But I think from what I see, there's a great need for this, and I hope you're all excited, because it's going to be really, I'm going to make it fun, and you're going to learn a lot. And I'll get to teach things that I've been wanting to teach for a long time, and it wasn't quite the right time. And now I think it is. So for this evening, why don't you, if you haven't done so, light your candle and raise your incense. And so we're just going to go nice and easy, whatever speed you wish to go at. And if you don't wish to do mantras, you do what you would like. But we're going to do the mantra of Rafa. And in the winter, we might use other ones. I'm going to look into other names we can add, and I need to contemplate and pray on that and see what's possible. But Rafa is a very holy one, and I've discussed it a lot in the fall. So you could look at the recordings, which are now up, most of them, and no, not quite the holy season. That's the last little batch. So, but they're all in the live teaching. So, so why don't we get ready? So for those who are relatively new, so Rafa means who heals. So if you say Abba El Rafa, Abba who heals. So it's calling on a particular aspect of God, a healing aspect, as opposed to asking for wisdom or protection or the need for money or medicine. This, you could ask, this is asking for a healing aspect, a return to wholeness. And there's no need to contemplate what makes you not whole. We are generating the energy of wholeness. A healing is whole. So it's almost, you just say the name, but you don't think of anything. You just say the name. I'm telling you what it means, but it's important to know. But that's not what you're reciting in your mind. You're saying, so I use the name Yahweh, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa. I'm not telling myself, Yahweh who heals, Yahweh who heals, Yahweh who heals. No, no, no. It's the sound. And if it's your native language, Hebrew, it might be a little different for you. But for us, Rafa, you're not doing the intent of the meaning. It's not a summoning of the meaning. It's Rafa, the sound, Rafa. It naturally carries the meaning. We don't want to be in our minds. We're not sending pleas out there. It's not a prayer in that sense. This is using sound and frequency and the blessing that word holds based in ancient scripture and tradition over thousands of years. It's a stream, like an airplane. We're getting on a certain airplane in a way, and the journey is set, like a train, better put. The rails are there, the train is there, and people have ridden it for a long time. And it has it. We just need to get into it and sit down. The heat's in a certain way, the direction's in a certain way. We just do it. That's the beauty of these recitations. We're not inventing anything new here. And it's a path, and we just need to do it. And so at the first part of the list here, make sure it's up on the screen. Okay, yes. It's available on the website on wisdomoftheshalom.com. There's a place where you can do downloads, and this is in this 3-4 pages of different things is available. And so you have the principal names of God on the first portion, and then you just add Rafa. So if you look at the bottom of the second section, Yahweh Rafa El Shaddai. That's a very, very powerful one. And if you would like to use another name at the end, like this one is, so this one has 2 names of God, Yahweh Rafa El Shaddai. So Yahweh and El Shaddai are 2 names of God. And sometimes that has a frequency that feels right. Or you switch in and out different names. Abba, Rafa, Emmanuel. Abba, Rafa, Elohim. That one feels a little odd. But you see what I'm saying? You find the one that works. Now, there's certain ones that really work. And I think there's certain combinations that's just not going to work. From a rhythmic point of view, a pattern, it's just the frequencies of the 2 names with Rafa in the middle just do not work. But you feel it in your body. And you're able to sort of test different combinations. A lot of these here are ones that I came up with through my own practice. Some are traditional, and some are ones I'm like, oh, this works, I'm going to share that. And I've been writing some of these down for years. Some of these I've came up with 4 or 5 years ago, and I wrote them down. I said, in case I ever share and teach people, I will have these names, and I maybe just practice them for a week or 2, several weeks or a couple months, and haven't returned to them. But they're offered as possibilities. And so you make your practice as to what you feel. The different frequencies in these names, but you're going to say it gently. And it's not necessarily, oh, this name is this, or this is this, and it's too intense with this name. If it is, fine. But sometimes you do need that intensity, but you're relaxing in the intensity. It just feels very effective. You get up and you're like, oh my God, I feel like a new man. Like, oh my God, I was holding all that. Wow, 20 minutes. Oh my gosh, I need to do this more often. Oh, I love these names. Where has it been my entire life? Oh, that's the one. And you're like, oh my gosh, where has this been my entire life? I wish I discovered this soon. Oh, this one sits so perfect with me. You see that thinking? Then you know you found the one, the combinations that work. There's a little exploration. At the beginning, especially, you might need a two-name combination. Elohim, Rafa might not work necessarily. You might need Elohim, Rafa, El Shaddai. And especially at the beginning, you kind of need that extra oomph because you're new and your body is not as sensitive. And you do need a little more to have that movement. Or even if you've been doing it for a long time, that's just what sits well for you. With time, depending on what you do the prayer for, the names change. Two names is enough. One, the Aleph practice. Spoke about this, I don't know, a year and a half ago. There's a progression, but then not necessarily. For certain things, one, or certain seasons in your life, you're doing this. The most, and that's perfect. I'm hesitating on whether I should go a little further with this. One, with time, can develop the ability of just looking at the Aleph, because all these names go into the Aleph, and just look at it or rest in the Aleph or do a certain Aleph practice, and all of that just happens naturally from that resonance that you're able to have with the essence of what God is. But that takes time, and it takes a certain alignment of your energies and healing and wholeness and practice. That's sort of the fruition practice, the when it all lines up and it's all really clicked, you're able to do that. But that's further down the road. But people can do it early if they have the capacity. But there's sometimes a progression with more names, a couple names, one name, and then the Aleph, which embodies everything. There's also an understanding that comes with that, a way of perceiving. And at the beginning, there's too much going on, and the understanding's not there. The understanding comes the alignment, or with the alignment comes the understanding. There's a whole path, and there's a progress, and a lot of things become more available, which really seem out there and sort of, whoa, this is out there. Then you realize it's not. We're bringing it all in to become fully 100% and whole. And it's just doing it today with our candle and our incense and whatever name we use. It's just we're letting go into the current. We're moving into the beautiful little stream, that little safe river, We put in our little rafts, right, the little inner tubes, and we just have our little drink and we float down the river and we trust it. It carries us. And we don't need to paddle a lot. We just say the name and we allow it to do whatever it does. And I think we'll enter a very calm, prayerful, beautiful space. And the healing naturally happens. Wholeness returns. So, as we always do, we will start with the Shema. Like starting with this, it's a good way to sort of bless the space and to kind of announce sort of an official start. Yes? Okay. So this also has sounds and tones and syllables, which has been said for millennia. It creates great blessing. It derives from certain portions of the Torah. So I encourage you to say it out loud because it itself is a mantra. Because the words carry blessing and the sounds of the words are blessed. And these create tones and vibrations in our bodies which help rebalance us, as well as being an affirmation of faith, which is important, which aligns our energies in the proper way with the proper intent, and also is find a beautiful thing to say. And if you're just religious and if you're just spiritual and you're here to heal and become the best version of yourself, that's fine. Just say it, or if you don't feel called to, it's available to you, and just see it as a blessing from a faith, which carries a blessing of healing. And it's available for you to say, even if you don't have that particular pronouncement of faith, even if you don't kind of really believe it, it still has that divine blessing in it. And it's not an exclusive club. Okay. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh. Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh. Now I'm going to slow down. I kind of said it faster for all of us because of the space, sort of purify the space, but it's really, we're going to go a little gentle because the slowness has blessing. So it's Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa. And use the name you feel called to use. Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa. Now when you say it slow like this and you have prayer beads, each recitation is one bead. But we're not counting them. But by going slowly and one recitation is in a bead, that mantra infuses into the bead because you're holding it between your thumb and your forefinger. If you're right-handed, the energy of the body leaves through the right hand. So as you're saying the name, the frequency of the name is leaving through your right hand into the bead that you're holding. And that infuses the mantra, the intent, and the frequency into the bead. And you do that often, and you have 72 beads right up against each other. The prayer beads, and they're in a circle, or stored as a group in a pouch or something, or someplace where it's well kept. It will hold the frequency of that. And sometimes people use different prayer beads for different intents. And there's different color stones which you have for healing. Turquoise is really great, and depending on what you want to use it, what you feel called to. But the prayer beads hold that frequency. That's why I like more minerals than wood. Wood doesn't quite hold it as well. It holds it. So if you're feeling not well, or it helps deepen your practice because it becomes an aid. Because you hold it, it has the frequency. So you're not always generating it only on your own. Your prayer beads actually help you generate it. And in turn, you infuse it in your prayer bead. This is why they're seen as tools. And you treat it reverently or like it's sacred, because it's literally carrying the divine frequency and blessing of the mantra you're saying. Yes? So you treat it with respect, which in turn keeps the frequency in the prayer beads. Yes, you don't worship it. Let's just be clear. No. But yet it's a religious, spiritual tool. And you have a lot of gratitude towards it because you begin to see that it really does help you. And if you have a friend, a family member who's ill, you could loan it to them. And they who don't have this practice, who don't understand it, don't need to believe in it, because you will see they will feel better with it. Because it carries that frequency, should you wish to share it. But it shows that it's inherent in it through our practice. As we do the montration of names, our bodies have bone and calcium, which hold a lot of frequency. Not necessarily the frequency we wish to keep. As we say the names, the bone is no longer radiating whatever frequency and trauma and everything we're holding, that distortion, that imbalance, that unwholeness. It's being changed by the frequency and the blessing of the name, which alters what the bones are emanating within us, heals that, and it begins to emanate the frequencies of the name we're using. So in a way, the prayer beads hold it outside of our body, and our bones begin to sing a new song. And when we're out in the world, that is carried with us as well. People who use a lot of prayer beads and feel close to it and they feel it helps them, some people wear it around their neck as a necklace. often under their shirt or above their shirt. If they're a man, it tends to be under the shirt, or they wrap it around their arms, their hands, as people have seen go about. And that helps with that energy. You carry it with you. So that healing practice, your devotion, what you're trying to do, and the practice becomes carried with you. During periods of intensive practice, I used to sleep with my prayer bead in my hand, and I used to have it under my shirt and around my hand, depending on what I wanted or what I was doing. The practices become lived. And it also reminds you of where you have your focus as you go about your day. And there's a certain protection you feel, the divine protection, because it's in your body, it's in your frequency, and people interact with you. So you have a source of blessing, becomes a sort of like a talisman that you carry with you. And it does affect the space you're in. You will find things will present itself differently as you do your practice. And that's the blessing. And your ability to interact with different spaces change. You become more capable. You develop the understanding of the things I'm describing now, which could feel or you think is really, really, really out there and really a little cuckoo. It's really not. It's very, very, very ancient, very, very old, and it's tried and true, and it's real, just not spoken about it in that way. Oh, those people who do tend to look a little cuckoo and probably maybe are, or it feels very 70s and hippies. Well, the hippies went out east, learned a lot of things, not all that well, and brought in a lot of different ideas, and it doesn't hold together, very well. But it was the beginning of an infusion into Western society, which is now 50 years later in a very different place and now more balanced. But it's not new, it's very old, and it works. But it requires a little faith to try it out. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hop into our practice, but I think that is helpful. So we're going to recommence. Maybe stretch out a little bit because I've lost feeling in my legs. If you wish, you could put up some more incense. I'm going to do that. So you see, it's a loose practice. It's not rigid. We're working with our flow. Yes, when you swim, there's currents, waves, you get pulled to the left and to the right. You kind of have to swim with it. If you swim against it and you force it, you get tired. So you learn to go with it and keep your eye on where you're headed and make those adjustments with the wave, not against it. So your practice should be gentle in that way. If you feel to take 5 minutes break, take a little tea or coffee, that's fine. If it's so annoying you that you're wondering if you got that text from that hot guy and hot girl that you really want to have a date with the next day, and you can't focus because of it, well, then take a quick look so you can get back to it, right? It's working with it. This is not meant to be rigid or oppressive. If you feel you need to lie down and just curl up in front of your prayer space as you say the name when you're on your side, a little blanket over you, that's a very, very beautiful thing. There's no right way to do it. It's what helps you be in that cocoon and the flow of blessing. If it's better in the morning or in the evening or both, a little bit as you're falling asleep, a little bit at lunch, whatever it is, you want to tap into a current and be able to feel it the whole day. That you're going about your day and you're feeling that flow being with you in your day. It takes a while. So we start with little periods here and there. A couple minutes stolen here, a couple minutes over here, and a little practice there, where allowing to work with it in the way this energy is all part of the Shekhinah, the divine flow of divine energy to us. And we're learning to connect and realize the river is always with us 24/7, is always flowing. Are we going through our life with the river carrying us as we make our decisions, and we feel the river gentle guidance, and we're in the flow? Remember people saying, I'm in the flow? Well, it's a real thing. You just have to be careful that you're in the right flow and not the wrong flow, right? And so we're learning to enter into that balance and wholeness, so the sephirots are in alignment, or more in alignment, where the chakras are more balanced. So the flow ends up being the real flow, the one that's aligned, helpful, and leads you to greater alignment. You see? And so by doing this, we enter into a greater union of what's true, what's, for lack of a better word, real, the real reality in things. Balance of mind, soul, body, which has greater wisdom and a sense of power to better affect ourselves, our world. An ability to do these mantras, and it has a certain level of oomph and power. Believe me, if I really said one, you would really feel it. And that's practice. And I think people do feel it when I say it. And that's practice. And you use it properly, and it helps with change. Yeah? That's so beautiful. Thank you. So we're gonna let's let some incense. I'm all excited now. And we'll go. We'll do this. So, since I spoke about making prayer beads, I remember editing it recently. I think there's a 2-part teaching in May or June. Everything is in the video section of YouTube, and I try to have a description of everything. And I think I've done a really good job with that. And the title as well. should be descriptive. So if you go down, you should be able to find on prayer beads, there's a whole thing on stones, how to go looking at stones, and then afterwards, after that one, there's one or two, I think two, on how to make them and how to bless them and how to work with them. I think I gave a quick summary now, but it's quite complete. Okay, let's start. So when we start, just sort of recenter. Put your hands together, fingertips together at the right angle at the chest, and you just close your eyes, breathe, feel your body, feel your posture and alignment, and just kind of center and relax. And by having the fingertips together, it recalibrates the energies of the left and right side of the body, left, right side, and hemispheres of the mind, and the thoughts settle, and you feel a peace and an opening. And once you kind of feel that opening in that space come up, it takes practice. Through relaxation and balancing one's energies. So it's almost like a chicken and the egg thing going on. But you relax and then you start your practice. The mantra has less to work through. Yes? Breathe, let go, relax. Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa. You can speed up now if you wish to. So take a few minutes and look at your prayer space in your shrine. If you haven't already done it, and slow off the mantra recitation and connect with yourself. That feeling of wholeness, what's changed, opportunity to pray as we sort of close our practice. If you wish to continue, feel free to continue. But we're going to, at least for me, we're going to close the practice. So take a moment and feel your space, feel the fruits of your practice. And maybe say a prayer if you feel called to. Amen. I hope this has all been useful, and for you, I've heard that a few people wish to learn more about mantras, and it inspired me to go into this focus. It's the most powerful and fastest way that I know, and it's the most beautiful way as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening, and I wish you all the best for the remainder of your week. And look forward to being with you all on Sunday. Have a good night. Bye bye.